New York City lawmakers have proposed to make a park in an unlikely place, Hart Island, a burial ground off the coast of the Bronx. Roughly 1 million people have been buried at Hart Island since 1869. It remains a burial ground for roughly 1,100 unclaimed bodies per year that arrive by ferry. And for decades, city officials have kept it off limits, citing the island's crumbling buildings, wild landscape, and lack of infrastructure. And still, it's in use as the city's public cemetery. Now, city officials stated that they're exploring alternative burial sites, as Hart Island only has enough space to accommodate 10 additional years of burials. Now, if the bill to convert the island into a park passes, the council, it would need, should need to be signed by law by New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. Now, the question is, should the city public cemetery Hart Island become a park? Well, we encourage you now to weigh in on our social media at BronxNet TV. Community Board 1 held a meeting here in the Bronx where they voted unanimously against a proposal of a new borough jail in Mott Haven. Our BronxNet correspondent, Darissa White, brings us the story.
Tensions ran high last week when Community Board 1 made a unanimous decision to vote down the city's proposal to build a borough correctional facility in Mott Haven. This comes after the de Blasio administration announced a 10-year plan to close Rikers by 2027 and build borough correctional facilities as an alternative in every borough except Staten Island. City representatives at the meeting say to effectively open a borough jail, the city needs to reduce its incarcerated population to 5,000 people, a plan that could come as early as 2026.
We need investments in that neighborhood, not $1 billion in a jail. We need that money invested in that neighborhood for schools, for STEM programs, for programs for the youth to make sure they don't go to jail in the first place.
At one point, the room was divided between people that want Rikers closed and the new jail constructed and residents who don't want the borough jail in their neighborhood.
There's a school right next to it. There's another school 2 blocks away from it. There's a middle school 3 blocks away from it. And that's what we're thinking about.
Assemblyman Michael Blake argued against building the facility, but offered no clear alternatives to supplement the elimination of Rikers.
We should be building schools, not jails. But if we have to go down the road of this, then we have to do it right. And I do not believe the current process is done right. I think the intent is good, but this is why we got to be focused on making these changes now.
Although the community board voted no, the borough president's office and the planning commission still have to decide if the borough facility will go in the Mott Haven location. Reporting for BronxNet, Darissa White.
And the Close Rikers campaign celebrates 3 years since securing commitment from New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio to close down the Rikers Island complex. Darissa was also there and will be joining us to speak about the recent meeting. We have the story here on Open.
There's so much scandal and brutality and violence that something has to change. We have to do something different.
Daren Mack was charged at 17 as an adult and served 19 months out of a 20-year sentence in Rikers Island. Mack claims he faced mental and physical abuse in Rikers and wants the jail closed.
Basically, for people who are detained there and the people that work there, it was either a predator or a prey. And that was the role that people had to play, either a predator or a prey on Rikers Island. Rikers is a human rights crisis. It's the only penal colony that exists in the United States.
Since his release, he's become involved in Just Leadership USA, an advocacy nonprofit who says its mission is to reduce the incarcerated population. Tonight, the nonprofit held a forum for their campaign, Close Rikers, which many of the community came out to show support, like Michael Jenkins, whose son has been in Rikers for the last 2 years.
The conditions are deplorable out there. I was on Rikers Island years and years ago, and it seems like nothing has changed.
Last year, Mayor Bill de Blasio released a 10-year plan to close Rikers Island. However, to effectively close the correctional facility, the city needs to reduce its jail population to 5,000 people. Reverend Wendy Calderon Payne, who heads Bronx Connect, believes the city can reduce the number by using alternative methods like therapeutic interventions.
They do supremely well in our program and in all alternatives, For 20 years, we've maintained an 87% success rate at keeping kids in the community and not incarcerated during their year with us. In the past, they have tried, two administrations have tried to close Rikers Island. In fact, in the beginning of de Blasio's administration, he didn't think it was possible, and yet the community showed up, the city council showed up, and he saw that not only is it possible, but it's morally an imperative to close Rikers Island.
Some of the campaign's initiatives include replacing all city sentences of 1 year or less with alternatives and decriminalizing crimes like sex work and turnstile jumping. Reporting for BronxNet, Darissa White.